This is the first time that a Cuban leader has been invited to attend the regional gathering since the first summit in 1994, as the Caribbean island country was shut out of the past summits due to U.S. opposition. Cuba's participation in the meeting has offered an opportunity for the encounter of Obama and Castro.
El restablecimiento de las relaciones con Estados Unidos.
The re-establishment of the relations with the United States opens a possibility for Cuba to have a new entry to overall relations with America. To Latin America from a new dimension with an opportunity to start and strengthen economic ties besides political and diplomatic ties with other countries, and primarily with the United States. That has concluded its commercial embargo and obviously with its political and diplomatic, which underwent the island, and allows Cuba at one point be able to reset and restart relations. And the summit, I think, is one of the strategic elements for this to happen.
The United States and Cuba held 3 rounds of talks on the process of restoring diplomatic relations during the past 3 months. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez held a closed meeting Thursday night in Panama City, the highest-level meeting since 1961, in a run-up to the encounter of the 2 heads of state at the summit. The U.S. State Department has completed the review of Cuba's status and recommended the White House remove Cuba from the state sponsors of terrorism list. Obama vowed to act quickly once he receives the department's recommendation, which has been handed to the White House.
This is a very important step. The Cubans have said, how can you keep us on the terrorist list and give us, want to shake hands with us and become sort of a normal relationship. That's an odd. So, and the president promised to do this in mid-December, that he was going to really take a hard look at whether Cuba ought to be on the list. What's happened since mid-December is a series of meetings, a series of discussions, negotiations, and so far both sides have fundamentally done what they said they were going to do. They haven't taken large steps yet. He hasn't made the announcement yet that Cuba is going to be, or he's going to send to Congress, which he has to do, a decision to remove Cuba.
Cuba was added to the blacklist in 1982, and its presence has been a major sticking point to the restoration of full diplomatic relations between the 2 countries. U.S. half-a-century economic and trade embargo against the Caribbean island country is another stumbling block in the process of detente. Before it, bilateral efforts are required to address these thorny issues.
Bueno, de inicio Estados Unidos tiene que resolver una agenda interna.
Well, to start, the U.S. has to solve a domestic agenda. On the Cuban side, it's very clear that will Castro and Cuban leadership solve is quickly going to get to the institutional part of the island. However, in the U.S., things are different. Although this approach is an executive decision by President Obama, still has to pass at different levels. For example, the House of Representatives. There is still an institutional mechanism in the United States that has to be solved to ensure that the full normalization of economic, diplomatic, and political relations between the island and the United States are given. The only way they stepped back is that the Democrats lost the presidential election, and if the Republican candidates, who at one point was much more conservative, was not willing to go by this way, even though I think it's one step further. Besides American entrepreneurs, the American society itself sees it favorable because there are business opportunities from them in Cuba, and I believe they think the same way.